The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Today we're going to talk about complex PTSD in the black community. And before we get to the main topic of the day, I was off last week. Me and my girlfriend, my lady friend, we went to have a special day for us. It was Mother's Day, and me and her both are parents and single parents. Well, I was a single parent. My kids are grown now. You know, they grown and gone. But we had like a little spa day. It was pretty good, people. It felt pretty good. You know, I got my feet done. I don't have no bad feet, by the way. Just want to let y'all know that if any of y'all seen my videos out there when I was at the spa getting my feet done, I don't have no bad looking feet. But it did feel good to have a lady massage my feet, crack my toes, and all that good stuff. It felt good. I advise anybody that hasn't had a spa day or something like that, man, go get it done. And you be surprised, you know, how good you feel when you get your feet massaged up and all of that. But before we get into the main topic of the day, I got a few things that happened in the news while I was gone. The first story that I've been watching very closely is from the Washington Examiner. It's talking about how the people down in Florida, the officials, the elected officials, are going to try to protect Trump. You see, I think this was already in the plan, and that's why he decided to move to Florida. You know, they have laws in Florida where they're saying that, well, let me just read it to you. Officials in Palm Beach County, Florida, are reportedly grappling with the possibility of former President Donald Trump being indicted by Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr., who is looking for a possible bank, tax, and insurance fraud. Now, these are crimes that happened before Donald Trump became president. These crimes the statute of limitations have not run out on it. Now, if he would have became president for 4 more years, the statute of limitations probably would have ran out on some of these charges. One point of this discussion, sources in the Politico said, is the topic of extradition. Extradition is if any of you have ever had a charge in another state or know somebody who had a charge in another state, that state has to petition the state that you're in to come and get you and bring you back to their state. And it seems that Florida's laws were built to protect Trump. I'm not saying that they had the laws in place specifically for Trump, but I think his attorneys found a place in America that's friendly to the Republicans, because it's a Republican-ran government down there, and they love Trump. Some of them people down there love Trump. So now they're saying that one point of the discussion by Politico is the topic of extradition and the role of local law enforcement. A Florida statute gives the governor, who right now is Ron DeSantis, the ability to interview and investigate whether a person charged with a crime ought to be surrendered or not. This is crazy. What they don't realize is these people are going to throw their lives in put their lives in danger, because all New York got to do is go to the feds and tell the government, look, Florida is interfering with a lawful bench warrant, and the FBI can literally go down there and get Donald Trump anyway. And see, you know, they playing games. These people are playing games. Florida is not a foreign country. You got foreign countries that can stop you from, you know, bringing somebody from their country to the United States. But Florida is a part of America. These people are acting like Florida is a foreign country. You know, I'm following that story right there. But the next story I want to get to that happened while we was gone. They ousted Representative Liz Cheney. I don't like Liz Cheney's politics. I think she was all of this trying to stand up at the end now that Donald Trump's not in office. Look, I'm cool with that, but my thing is you should have been standing up when he was in office with all of his corruption. So now they've gotten rid of Liz Cheney, who's standing up to Donald Trump, and you still got somebody like Matt Gaetz who's still in the Republican Party. They should have been kicked him out. You know, this guy is accused of being a pedophile. Let me read you this from the USA Today. Representative Liz Cheney from Wyoming. This is Vice President Cheney's daughter from the Bush era, who was ousted from her role as Republican conference chair Wednesday, told the Today Show Savannah Guthrie on Wednesday that she would be a leader to restore the Republican Party. She has a touch of it. Matter of fact, this story right here is gonna lead me. It's gonna lead me slowly into what I'm talking about today about PTSD. She's not living in reality. The Republican Party is gone. The Republican Party is full of white nationalists, bigots. You got a few black folks who are confused. They don't know. They really don't know. They don't have an understanding. You know, you got a few blacks still left in the Republican Party, but the few blacks that still left in the Republican Party, they don't have a full understanding that them people are bigots. The few blacks that's left in the Republican Party are still trying to hold on to some kind of Lincoln connection, because Lincoln is supposedly the one who freed the slaves. You people are nuts, crazy, Looney Tunes. The Republican Party has been fully taken over by white supremacy. Period. And I don't know why y'all can't get that. But we'll talk about that on another show. The next story I'm following very closely is a story that came out of the Guardian. I don't fool with the Guardian too much, or the Washington Examiner. These are like right-wing, semi-right-wing news outlets, but they are certified news outlets. The former U.S. Senator and CNN political commentator Rick Santorum has sparked outrage among the Native Americans and prompted calls for his dismissal by telling a right-wing student conference that European colonists who came here to America and birthed a nation from nothing. He said that, and I got the video clip where he said this to a bunch of young white Republican young men and women at a conference. This is what I mean when I say the Republican Party is dead. You got men like him preaching hatred, like there was nothing here when white people came here. They had a whole race of people here, the Native Americans. His exact words was, there was nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there isn't much Native American culture in American culture. You goofball. The reason why is because you destroyed them people and took their land. You a goofball. You a goofy. He says, we came here and created a blank state. We birthed a nation from nothing. That's crazy. I'm following that story too, because that falls right into what I was saying about how these people in the Republican Party is full of bigots. They're a dying breed. America is becoming more black and brown. You see, when you have a mixed culture of people in a country, America is going to wind up looking like the Arabs over in Northern Africa. Light-skinned, curly-haired people. The reason why is because you have too many different nationalities in this country. And everybody is mixing and mingling with each other. In another 100 to 200 years, America is going to look just like an Arab country. You're going to have brown skin and light skinned people everywhere with curly brown hair. You're going to think these people came straight out of Iraq somewhere. But they're Americans. And the reason why is because I shouldn't even have to explain this to you. White and black makes brown. Black and Chinese makes brown. Black and Mexican makes brown. Anything you mix black people with is going to come out brown. So I shouldn't even have to explain this to some of y'all. This is the reason why white people are going crazy. Because they see what I see. They see that this country is going to start looking like an Arab country. Even though we're not an Arab country, this country is going to start looking like an Arab country. And they can't stand that. They can't stand it. So now you got Rick Santorum up here spitting all his hatred and bigotry. And it's funny because this leads me right up in this story right here with Rick Santorum leads me right into what I'm talking about today for the main topic of the show. Complex PTSD. Okay, let me explain this before I start talking about the main topic. PTSD was diagnosed back in 1980. PTSD is when you have a traumatic experience and it changes your life to where people hardly even recognize you. You can go to war. You can get shot. A woman or a man could be in a toxic relationship for years and break up with that person and suffer PTSD. You can have PTSD from a lot of different things. And then some people can go through the same thing you went through and come out of it just fine. PTSD affects people different. Complex PTSD is something I think all African Americans in this country suffer from, and we don't even know it. Complex PTSD was diagnosed in 1994, a few years after PTSD. The difference between PTSD and complex PTSD, PTSD comes from one traumatic experience that changes your life forever. Complex PTSD is a history, a long-running history of traumatic experiences to where your mind and everything about your psyche is messed up and damaged. That's why I said in the beginning of the show, the name of this show is called Black Americans Suffer from Complex PTSD, and now white America is starting to feel it too. That's the reason why you see a lot of these riots with the white people at the Capitol. You see a lot of mass shootings. They're starting to feel complex PTSD like we've been feeling for the last 400 years. Let me read this to you. This is from BetterHelp. It's one of the world's top platforms when it comes to online mental health. Okay, that's where this came from. It says, while PTSD may develop after a single incident, that's regular PTSD, c-ptsd is a group of complex symptoms that result from long-term traumatic events. Examples of ongoing trauma include long-term physical or sexual abuse, ongoing domestic violence, being a prisoner of war, or being a victim of commercial sex abuse, including trafficking or prostitution. c-ptsd is thought to be more severe in those who experienced traumatic events for a long time at a young age. We are alone in the experience, or the experience was enacted by a caregiver, especially one they are still in contact with. That's key. Think about that. Whites took us here as slaves. They so-called gave us equal rights. We are still in contact with the same people year after year who are still shooting some black people in the back, who are still discriminating against us. We are still in contact with these people. That's why I named the show what I named it. I'm finna get into this first commercial break, and when we come back, I'm gonna play this video clip of Rick Santorum, because I want y'all to really hear the bigotry that these older Republicans are teaching the younger generation. Listen to this.
Think about this country. I don't know of any other country in the world that was settled predominantly by people who were coming to practice their faith. They came here because they were not allowed to practice their particular faith in their own country. And so they came here mostly from Europe, and they set up a country that was based on Judeo-Christian principles. When I say Judeo-Christian, the Mosaic laws, 10 Commandments, and the teachings of Jesus Christ, the morals and teachings of Jesus Christ. That's what our founding documents are based upon. It's in our DNA. You know, if you think of other countries like Italy and Greece and China and Turkey and places like that, they've all sort of changed over time. I mean, they've been there for millennia in many cases. And their culture has sort of evolved over time. But not us. We came here and created a blank slate. We birthed a nation from nothing. I mean, there's nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, that there isn't much Native American culture in American culture.
So there's a lot there, and we will get into it. But what I was struck by in watching the clip is how so much of what these right-wingers consider their values and principles are based on faulty understandings of history.
That was a clip from the David Pakman show. I love David Pakman. I watch him all the time. I suggest some of you guys watch his channel and subscribe to him. He has some good information, people. That clip right there is it. And then if you watch how he was talking, he really believed this stuff. You could tell this wasn't no slyness or no sneakiness in him. He was talking from his heart. He really feel like when white people came here, there was nothing here. You know, he don't feel like Native Americans. He probably don't even feel like Africans were anything. Like we were nothing. And he really was talking about this to another group of young Republicans up and coming in the world. These are young men and women who are going to carry the torch of this bigotry. This is some crazy stuff. I'm gonna get into this this first commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about complex PTSD and the signs of it.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Me and Bae gon' always be tight, though you not with me every single day and night. Even when they start out to acting like a fool. Yeah, they love in every single thing you do. You know that they can always be themselves. They love each other more than anybody else. And every day as you see them on YouTube, you know there's not one, it'll always be just two. Two stupid Emily, two stupid Emily, two stupid family. They'll make you scream. It makes me wanna sing. It's a family thing, the family. Two stupid family, stupid family. They'll push your buttons. It makes me wanna cry. It's a family thing, the family. Two stupid family.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
PTSD stands for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, a condition officially recognized in 1980 to describe exposure to a relatively brief but devastating event, typically a war, a rape, an accident, or a terrorist incident. Complex PTSD, recognized in 1994, describes exposure to something equally devastating, but over a very long time, normally the first 15 years of life.
Okay, we back, people, and like I was saying at the first part of the show, Rick Santorum's speech is an example of two things. It's an example of what I mean by white supremacy, unknowing white supremacy in some people. You even got blacks out here who are light skinned that gets the benefits of being lighter, that are suffering from white supremacy. They don't even realize it. You know, you even have you got people out here that have been so used to white supremacy, have been so used to moving and making money in a white supremacist society, that they don't realize that this is not proper. You know, God created man equally. You know, we bleed just like they bleed. And a lot of these people don't have an understanding like Rick Santorum. And then the second part about that is when it comes down to complex PTSD, the reason why I say black Americans suffer from this, because whenever you have a major traumatic experience, slavery is a major traumatic experience. You know, you get snatched from your country, brought to another country. Many of your women, men, and children raped, forced to work in cotton fields and crops, and dig lands and build buildings. You know, with no pay. You know, at the end of the day, you might get some bread and water and put back in your pen. That's a traumatic experience that spans generations. So now you jump forward to Jim Crow in the 1950s and 60s. We still suffering from it because we might be quote unquote free, but they're still lynching us, putting us or hanging us up in trees while a mob of white people stand around watching and laughing. That's a traumatic experience that's ongoing, that spans generations. And then the further of this is when you take the light-skinned population out of blacks and treat them a little bit better. They don't get away. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that they get everything handed to them. No, they don't. But now you got the skin lightening cream out here. You know, you got the straight hair, the human hair. They have an understanding subconsciously that the more I look white, the better it'll be for me. Then you got white Jesus. I'm not even going to dive too deep into that because I'm going to upset a lot of people. Jesus was not white. I'm going to shake a lot of people up with that. Jesus was not white. But when you go in people's household, even black people households, you see a big old picture of Jesus Christ with blonde hair, blue eyes, blonde hair flowing down his back. That man wasn't he looked more like an Arab. Matter of fact, he might have been darker than an Arab, because the Europeans from Rome just started going into Israel, taking over northern Africa. So you still had a lot of black Israelites, not light-skinned Israelites. You still had black Israelites. That was my complexion. So you know, that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother topic I can talk about. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I want to get back to PTSD and how black America is suffering from PTSD, and now white America is starting to suffer from it after being so long with this white special ability to go in a bank and get a loan, even if you ain't got a job, you got white skin and you look proper. You know how white people can get stopped by the police and have no fear at all about losing their life. I done seen old white ladies drive off, cuss police officers out, and throw paper at them. They don't pull their gun out not one time. They don't pull a taser out not one time. They keep saying, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Calm down, ma'am. Calm down. But then when you look at black videos of old black ladies getting drugged out of cars, slammed on the ground, just because she said something back to a police, that's a traumatic experience. You got somebody kneeling on George Floyd's neck being viewed by the world. That's a black man. I don't care about no $20 counterfeit bill. I don't care about no drugs. Whatever he did was not enough to give him a death sentence. It wasn't enough to kill him. But he's dead. Let's go into the signs of PTSD, complex PTSD, starting with number 1.
Firstly, a feeling that nothing is safe. Wherever we are, we have an apprehension that something awful is about to happen. We are in a state of hypervigilance.
Number 1, a feeling of something horrible is finna happen. That's why you see a lot of young black men running around here with guns. Half of these clowns don't even need a gun, but they feel like they gotta have one because of the ops. That's PTSD. Most of these kids don't even need guns. By them going out and get a gun, it causes a ripple effect. They thinking somebody else is armed because of that traumatic experience. Now they go get armed. And then once somebody sees them armed, they go get armed. Half of the street beefs out here could have been settled with a simple fight. Or somebody could have just talked it out. Like a gang leader could have went somewhere and said, hey man, I need to talk to your gang leader and get this straightened out before blood gets shed. It's PTSD. Let's get to number 2.
Secondly, we can never relax. This shows up in our body. We're permanently tense or rigid. We have trouble with being touched, perhaps in particular areas of the body. The idea of doing yoga or meditation or breathing exercises, these things aren't just not appealing, they may be positively revolting. We may call them hippie with a sneer. And deeper down, they are, of course, terrifying. Probably our bowels are troubled too. Our anxiety has a direct link to our digestive system.
Anxiety. See, I learned something about that a few years ago, how your mental health can have an effect on your bowel movement. I didn't realize that. But it makes sense because what goes on in your brain affects your whole body. You know, that's why you can be brain dead and your heart will stop beating. Not because you're not alive, but because your brain is not sending the right signals to your heart to keep it pumping. Let's get to number 3.
Thirdly, we can't ever really sleep, and we wake up very early, generally in a state of high alarm, as though during rest we've let down our guard and are now in even greater danger than usual.
Number 3, can't sleep. I think I suffered from a little bit of that when I had my kids. I still would get up after 4 or 5 hours of sleep and not even have to go back to sleep. Some people need a whole 7 or 8 hours. I can run off of 4 or 5 hours. This a condition. It's conditioning. You know, you got guys who sleep with pistols. You know, you got all your doors locked. You know, you got bars on your windows, and you sleep with a pistol under your pillow. You know, that's PTSD. You're constantly thinking something's finna happen to you.
Fifthly, we're often drawn to highly unavailable people. We tell ourselves we hate needy people, but what we really hate are people who might be too available for us.
Rejecting people. Actually, this is 4 and 5. Rejecting people and treating people as if they're too needy. Like if you've seen parents who treat their kids like, get off under me. You know, they don't know how to hug their children. They might be suffering from PTSD. There's nothing wrong with hugging your children. You know, walk up to them, give them a hug. There's nothing wrong with that. But you literally got people out here who don't know how to even hug their children. That's a form of PTSD. Let's get it to number 6.
Sixthly, we are sickened by people who want to be cozy with us. We call these people puppyish, revolting, or desperate.
Not wanting people up under you. The sense of wanting to be a loner. You know, we are human beings. And I had a friend of mine ask me the other day, you know, why I keep dating young women. Well, actually, there's two reasons behind that. You know, I got a bucket list, and one thing on my bucket list is I'm trying to have a son, and I know an old woman can't give me that. But the second reason is because I don't lay around trying to be a loner. We humans are we social creatures, and when you see people who don't want a girlfriend, or you see them women out here who don't want a man, I don't need no man. It's something wrong there. It's something wrong. And I know a lot of women are going to take offense to that, but you shouldn't. You might need to look into that. You know, I don't need a man. You know, you got men. I don't need a woman. I don't need nobody. Nobody needs nobody. I don't need nobody. When you get to dealing with people like that, it's something wrong in their psyche, mentally, because man is meant to be with woman. We're meant to have that relationship and bond. And when you take that out, you become a strange individual. You move different. You act different. You know, there's no telling what's going on in your psyche. You know, that's why I can break up with a woman and hell, within a week, I'm back dating again. I don't wait around. Because for what? Let's get to number 7.
Seventh, we are prone to losing our temper very badly, sometimes with other people, more often just with ourselves. We aren't so much angry as very, very worried.
I ran across this about a month or two ago. I took this chick out on a date and we started talking to each other, and at first everything was cool, and then all of a sudden I rode in the car with her one day and she had a road rage incident where she just started cursing and screaming at the guy driving next to her. I said, okay, maybe she kind of showing out since I'm sitting in the car with her. And then slowly over the weeks, she started developing this anger that I think was already there. She was just masking it and hiding it. And then she started talking to me out the side of her mouth like she was crazy. And I had to tell her, look, you don't speak to me like that. I've never disrespected you. You got this sense of anger about you that you constantly raging. That's a sign of PTSD. You know. And me and her had to part ways as friends and everything. I told her I don't deal with no disrespectful woman because I'm not a disrespectful man. You know, I can't deal with that. You can go on about your business. Just like that. Let's get to number 8.
Eighth, we are highly paranoid. It's not that we expect other people will poison us or follow us down the street. We just suspect that other people will be hostile to us and will be looking out for opportunities to crush and humiliate us.
Number 8, constantly in a state of paranoia. Always thinking somebody's going to get at you, do something to you. 9 times out of 10, ain't nobody even thinking about you. I'm not saying not be aware of what's going on around you. You're always supposed to be vigilant and be aware. But there is a certain there is a such thing as paranoia to the point where you become annoying to people. You know. And I've had people back when I was in my gang banging and street years. I used to have guys that would pop up at my house constantly raging, paranoid, like somebody trying to do something to them. And by me being a gang leader, I would go holler at the other gang leader to find out what's going on. And he'd be like, man, there go the dude right there he talking about. So let's find out what's going on. And when we talked to him, he said, man, I ain't got no beef with that guy. You know, it's all a figment of somebody's imagination. Paranoia. They think somebody's trying to get them. And it leads to a whole nother level of problems that brings other people into the mix. Before we continue on, I'm going to get into this last commercial break. And then we get back. We're going to finish up the 12 signs of complex PTSD. And some of the solutions, we're going to talk about some of the solutions that we can offer people. We'll be back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
I'm ready.
Camera's ready.
I'm ready. Welcome to Are You Scared Talent Shows. It's a new talent show that we put on TV for y'all to get used to because these people can't act. And so we're going to show y'all what the real deal is when you get on front of the camera and what some garbage acting look like. I tell you, garbage acting. This is Are You Scared Talent Shows, okay? I'm going to show y'all some acts of some talents. $5,000. It really ain't $5,000. I just said $5,000 because $5,000 sound like some people want to come and join a talent show if it was paying $5,000. So I'm your host, Eric Jones. Are You Scared Talent Shows?
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. That was my first cousin, Eric Jones, in that commercial. We are starting we're doing a set of comedy shows, not stand up. We're doing like skits, comedy skits. and we're starting. We supposed to start it yesterday, but we'll probably start today after the show. I'll probably go over to Smyrna, and we'll probably put some skits together and do some writing and stuff like that, and get some camera shots of good places we can do some shooting of our funny skits, because we have a real talented family. A lot of people that know us, they know we got a real talented family, man. We got musicians, rappers, beat makers, comedians. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just never stops. We got a tailor in the family. I'm talking about we got everything in the Gentry and Jones family. It's going down, and we're gonna bring it to the public and have a good time. So, matter of fact, for some of y'all who watch my YouTube channel, go to Money Making Biz on YouTube, Biz, Money Making Biz, and you can follow my show on YouTube, and you can scroll to the video section of my YouTube channel and find Damn Fool. It's called Damn Fool. That's my show. That's my comedy skits that I do, and it's funny, people. Y'all go check it out. Y'all go check me out, and leave some comments. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to me and leave some comments, and we're gonna try to keep bringing you good content. Now back to the 12 symptoms of complex PTSD. This is number 9, people.
9th, we find other people so dangerous and worrying that being alone has huge attractions. We might like to go and live under a rock forever.
Now, that right there, my mother suffers from that. My mother, she's a vet. She's been in the military for 26 years. She's retired. She's staff sergeant retired. And she suffers from that. She can't go anywhere or do anything without constantly worrying about people doing something. People doing drugs, people drinking. It done got so bad to the point where she basically has pulled herself out of society. And she goes to the VA and talks about it. She's been my mother. I love her. She's been to a lot of different wars, and she's been to a lot of different conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq. She's been to Panama. She's seen a lot. She used to tell me stories about how young black girls would get into the military, and then when a war break out, they would go overseas and be scared. So her being a staff sergeant, she would have to watch some of the young ladies and keep them from having sex with multiple men and having babies just so they can come home. They didn't care who they got a baby by. She would catch them trying to have sex with people, knowing good and well that they really didn't like the guy. They was just trying to get a baby, because when you get pregnant in the military, they send you home. They take you out of the war and send you back to the States. So my mother, she's seen a lot. She's been all over the world, man, and she taught me a lot. I've seen a lot through her eyes, and I think she suffers from a little bit of PTSD, which is another reason why I'm taking her to Florida with me on the 28th, 29th, when I go down there to see my partner get married. And this is like my second Mother's Day gift to my mother. You know, I'm gonna go down there with her, you know, go on some boat rides, you know, show a good time, maybe go out to some nice expensive restaurants, and we're gonna do it up. We're gonna do it big, people. But let's get into number 10.
10th, we don't register to ourselves as suicidal, but the truth is that we find living so exhausting and often so unpleasant, we do sometimes long not to have to exist anymore.
Now, I've seen this in some people. I got a partner of mine named Guru. He's a vet also. He almost like faded away. You know, when I knew him in high school, he was very outgoing. You know, I'm talking about the life of the party. And when he went overseas with the Marines and came back, it was almost like he was a shell of himself, to the point where he, you know, basically disappeared. You know, he be around, but he don't be around. It's like, and then he'll just pop up on you. Hey man, how you doing? It'll scare the shit out you. You know. But that's number 10. Not necessarily being suicidal, but almost invisible to people, to the point where they see you, but you moving around like you're invisible.
11.
Number 11.
11. We can't afford to show much spontaneity. We're rigid about our routines. Everything may need to be exactly so, as an attempt to ward off looming chaos.
Number 11. Everybody has routines in life. But number 11 says that people with long-lasting PTSD, they have a set of routines that if they get out of that routine, have any kind of spontaneousness in their life, like say your girl, she just ups and, baby, let's go on a drive. It throws them off balance. Like, why I want to go on a drive? You know, it throws them off balance. They don't have they want to have everything, all they ducks in a row, because they feel safe like that. Number 12.
12. In a bid to try to find safety, we may throw ourselves into work, amassing money, fame, honor, prestige. But of course, this never works. Now,
this right here don't just go to work. Like I said, a lot of people in the black community suffer from PTSD because of the long-term abuse in this country. And this is one right here that hits home, because after I was almost threatened of having my kids taken from me, I threw myself into my work. So I can relate to this one. When you suffer traumatic experience, you try to ignore it the best you can and jump into doing anything. It don't necessarily have to be work. It could be hustling, car selling, drug dealing, fighting. You know, you throw yourself into it wholeheartedly because you're trying to forget about whatever your pain is mentally. And that's number 12. Now we're finna get into certain treatments for this, because I don't think it's a straight out cure for this, but I think there are ways that people can ease whatever anxieties and paranoias they have, and by talking it out. But first, like this man finna say, first you got to recognize that you have it. You got to recognize that there's a problem.
What is the cure for all these arduous symptoms of complex PTSD? Partly we need to courageously realize that we have come through something terrible that we haven't until now properly digested, because we haven't had a kind, stable environment in which to do so. We are a little wonky because long ago the situation was genuinely awful. When we were small, someone made us feel extremely unsafe, even though they might have been our parent. We were made to think that nothing about who we were was acceptable. In the name of being brave, we had to endure some very difficult separations.
Okay, I stopped that video right there because complex PTSD, again, the reason why I say is floating throughout the black community because of slavery, because of the killings of unarmed black men, because of Jim Crow, because of unequal jobs and unequal loans that people get out here in the communities, redlining, putting minorities in certain areas that have factories and all kinds of manufacturing in the ghettos, and then put white people in more prestigious areas. That's redlining. So when you suffer from these traumatic experiences and you go through life thinking you're not good enough, this is a problem with our school children. I can remember being in high school and junior high, and blacks would not answer a question because they didn't want to feel like they didn't feel like they was good enough. And never dumb yourself down. Who cares if somebody calls you a nerd? Who cares if somebody say something like, well, you think you just smart like them white people? All of that's a part of having trauma, PTSD. And it affects your psyche. It affects you.
Perhaps repeated over years. No one reassured us of our worth. We were judged with intolerable harshness. The damage may have been very obvious, but more typically, it might have unfolded in objectively innocent circumstances.
Now, this last part right here about the symptoms and the cures, they're talking about how people from the outside can say, you're black, you live in a middle class neighborhood. How could you say there's still racism in America? We just had a black president. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying that people from the outside can look at you and your situation and say there's nothing wrong. The whole time there are things that's wrong in your community. There are things that's wrong in your race of people. And nobody's trying to recognize it and accept it. They just trying to move on from it because they're benefiting from it. Listen to this.
A casual visitor might never have noticed. There might have been a narrative which lingers still that we were part of a happy family. One of the great discoveries of researchers in complex PTSD is that emotional neglect within outwardly high-achieving families can be as damaging as active violence in obviously deprived ones.
That's some deep stuff. I'm running low on time, people, and I hope y'all learned something from today. And next week we will be back. Now the following week I'll be in Florida. I won't be doing my show on the 30th. I won't be doing my show on the 30th. I'll either be in Atlanta or I'll be in Florida. And so next week will be my last show until I go on my little vacation break. But I hope you guys learned something, man. I try to bring things to the black community that and give it to you in a way that you can understand it. Because there are a lot of mental issues in the black community. There are a lot of I'm gonna give you an example. I don't usually do hip-hop news, but Soulja Boy, not Soulja Boy, but NBA Youngboy, he got caught with multiple guns, got arrested with the feds. He don't realize that he's facing almost 15 to 20 years in federal prison. He gets caught with another gun. Now, this is some crazy stuff. This is some crazy stuff. And the reason why it's crazy because they're going to come at him and ask him to get out of these charges, get him some dirt that he know on somebody else. Now, understand what I'm telling you. People like him and T.I. that get caught with multiple guns, a normal person, especially a normal black man that gets caught with that many guns and you're a felony, you're going to serve 20 years. Hands down. The feds is not the state. The feds don't play like the state does. The state might give you 2 or 3 years and get you out. 5 years, get you out. The feds operate on information. The more information you know, the faster you get out. I'm going to be keeping a watch on that case too. Just to show y'all what I'm talking about. I'm going to keep a watch on that case too. And all you got to do is look at 6ix9ine. 6ix9ine had enough charges to put him in prison for 30 years. He's out running around right now with jury on his neck, making rap songs and talking about people. And everybody know he's a snitch. He ain't even hiding it. I want to see if NBA Youngboy gonna try to hide it. This is not a game out here, people. You have a lot of people out here with mental disorders, and sometimes they be in the right situation with a mental disorder and get a lot of money because they might make a popping hot song, or they might do a dance routine on YouTube and become Instagram sensations overnight. And then the money starts flowing. But the mental disability they got never got corrected. So now they take that mental disability or that mental issue that they got into another wealth structure. And it makes all of us as black men and women look crazy. Like we don't know how to conduct ourselves. But people don't realize them people already had mental issues in the first place. I hope y'all learned something. And this is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.